Thank you for doing this, Hugo.
It's a
It's a
pleasure.
pleasure to meet you and to learn a little bit more about the florist studio.
Thanks so much for coming in.
So I thought we'd start with a little bit about Maison Fleur and the background story to it.
Yeah, okay. Maison Fleur. So maison like house in French.
Yes.
Fleur like flower. So we thought when we were coming up with a name that we wanted something that rode on the back of French style. And the French fashion houses like Maison Chanel or Maison Valentino or whatever. So we thought, well, we do flowers and we do them very well, so we should be Maison Fleur. And that's just how it came. And really, it comes to House of Flowers at the end of the day, which we are.
The world-renowned florist. Do you want to talk us through a little bit of that?
Sure. I am an Australian florist, but I have a beautiful dual life where I have commercial flower shops in Australia, but I teach in other countries around the world in different flower schools. And part of the role sort of to get there, to get that position, is to do floral design competitions. And you can do those nationally, you can do those in your world area. So if for example, there are European Cups and Asia Cups and things like that. And also there is what is called the World Cup. So we say it's just like the Olympics. It happens every 4 years. It happens in a different country each year that hosts, and there is usually around somewhere between sort of 24 30 countries that are usually involved. And so in the steps to progress to that, I've won Australian Florist of the Year 5 times over many different years, over sort of the course of 20 years. I was lucky enough to go to the Asia Cup of Floral Design and win that. And then I progressed on to try to go to the World Cup in Philadelphia in 2019 and managed to win. Yeah, Carolyn Williamson, my business partner, we've worked together before we started this business for many years, and we work very well together. And I know that partnerships can go either way. Fortunately for us, just in our work relationship, it always was very easy to make a decision. And so when it came about and the opportunity came about, it just seemed like a no-brainer. It was, we have both very different skills, and together I think we combine to make one single person within a floral design studio. And so we both have very separate lanes, and sometimes they come together and come apart. And if one person feels particularly pointed or wants to go in a particular direction, they're really strong-willed about it, the other person normally gives in to that very easily, because
It's a partnership.
It's a partnership. We talk about things. If one person wants to make, their viewpoint made known, we do that, and usually it comes about very easy and very quickly. It's not hard. It's great.
Sounds like a great one.
It is. It's wonderful.
The other thing which I found really intriguing is the 3 locations, the latest of which is the Gasworks, I should say.
Yes.
In Tenerife.
Yes.
Is this particular studio the first, or you?
This is the original. This is the one. When we were looking to open a business, I quickly discovered, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but if you are not on Queen Street or Edward Street, you're not really a business in Brisbane City.
Oh, what? Okay.
You
That's the definition.
can be like, just for a good amount of walk by trade. We are a luxury brand, we think, and if you are one of the luxury brands of Brisbane, if you're not on one of those 2 streets, you don't get the trade that you would normally. So you could be on Elizabeth and you could be in one of the others, and it certainly is in the city, but we wanted sort of a high traffic area where we would be seen. And so we are on actually the corner of Edward and Margaret.
Yes.
And the building's official number is Edward Street. When we were looking, we looked at several locations in Queen Street and several locations on Edward closer to the mall. And the rent prices were so high that starting out, we just thought, if we're going to start out with such a high rent, that's an awful lot of flowers to sell every week. And the person that we were dealing with suggested this tiny little shop on this beautiful heritage building, and
Absolutely.
it was just being formed. It didn't have a door, it didn't have a window. It was they had just literally cleared it, and it had no painted walls. And we came and saw the space, and it just seemed beautiful. It is only 50 square meters. 25 on ground level and 25 in a basement. And the idea of having a basement is very European. A lot of the European stores, actually, because they're all old buildings, the only option to have is to have upstairs and downstairs.
Right.
And that really appealed to me. The fact that it was a heritage building appealed to me. The fact that we're so close to the Brisbane Botanical Gardens
Yes.
and the Stanford Plaza, and I can stand here and look out my window actually to the gardens, and it doesn't feel like you're even in the city.
I think
really
it's
beautiful.
yeah, it's beautiful. It's one of the things that took me is the location. What about the aesthetic? How did you go about setting it up?
We have a French brand, which is Maison Fleur, and quietly, we created in our mind the idea of our perfect customer.
Yes.
And she's a woman of sort of between 35 and 55, married with children, lives in a nice suburb of Brisbane, so on and so forth. And we were sort of thinking, what does she want? Where does she want to shop? She's probably someone who travels to Europe every so often for a holiday, and that'd be lovely. And the idea of walking into a French flower shop is the idea for most florists of the epitome of what it looks like. Just the overwhelming flowers, the beauty, the varieties, the roses, the tulips, the hydrangeas, the dahlias, all of those sorts of things. And when we found this space, because it had the wooden floors and the beautiful exposed brick, we thought, let's take a chance and let's do all of the branding black. So it is dark and moody, but with character and warmth.
Yeah.
And that lovely contrast of a certain masculinity within the features lets the flowers, which are very feminine, balance and contrast.
Yeah, nice kind of
So if you look at any of the shops through Scandinavia, they often are painted black, which really lets the flowers be alive and all of the colours really sing. And so we just thought we'd lean into that. And so this was the first store. This is the prototype. And because we had all of those things in place already, it seemed pretty simple. We keep it very sort of pared back, minimal, and let the flowers do the work.
Does that wash through the other three?
It does. Yeah, the other two. It does. They are all individual, but they have all of the same core ingredients. So we have all of the same stands. They're all painted the same color. It's all the same fixtures. All of the cabinetry in all three are the same, but one is in an arcade, which is completely open.
Oh, yes. Yeah, yes.
And it does feel different, but it has the same sort of core basic ingredients. The Gasworks store is a modern shopping centre with a lot of glass, but it has the same core ingredients and still painted black. It still has all of the beautiful cement containers that we have for all of our plants. So that one thread allows us to then, no matter what space we're in, if we have 5 shops, we'll just look at the space and find those elements that we can bring into it and visual merchandise in that way that they look the same.
So you speak to the location and then you just
Absolutely.
look the brand through.
Absolutely. And all three service a different community.
Yes.
And we have the same products but in different proportions. So for example, Gasworks sell an awful lot of plants because it's lots of units and everyone wants something for the home. Yeah. Whereas the Burnett Lane store, because it's right in the shopping district, we have a lot of cash and carry. A lot of people turn up and want a bouquet then and there and want to leave. Whereas this end of the city, it's where we're sort of, because we're One Eagle Street adjacent and things like that, it's very corporate. We do a lot of corporate flowers for hotels, for foyers of buildings, for lawyers' offices, and that sort of thing. So each one has a different little vein that services.
Excellent. So what's the experience when they come in terms of the expertise that you can impart? Are they inquisitive? They need your help and assistance? You guide them through the process?
We will do as much or as little as they like, but the same level of service all the way through. You get the same level of quality, service, attention, whether you buy a single flower or whether you're spending $1,000 worth of flowers for us. We don't mind. We have very beautiful paper. We have very beautiful ribbon, and they are not extra. They are just with whatever you spend on flowers, you get all of those trimmings attached. And so when people arrive, often it's one of two. They need flowers, they don't know what it is, and they need our guidance, or they are very particular and have a very clear idea of what they like. We like both. For the first option, all of our staff are trained to a very high standard and have great hand skills when it comes to creating bouquets. So we can guide any customer through to what they need. If our customer already knows and has a clear idea, then that makes our job that much easier, and we can direct them to certainly. It's usually to do with quantity and presentation.
Yes.
That those sort of questions arise. You know, they might just love hydrangea and want white hydrangea, but how are we doing that? Are they just as a bouquet? Are we doing it in a glass vase? Does it need to be transported in a particular way? Are they going by car? Do they not want water? All of those questions.
Given we're going into a colder season, how does that impact the types of floral arrangements that you do?
Of course, we try to work as seasonally as we can.
Yes.
And so it's just thousands of times better to be in the cooler months for us in Queensland.
Okay.
Flowers just last longer. Flowers just last longer, and people are more willing to buy flowers for themselves, for the home, as gifts because they last longer. They see more value in it then. And so for us, we can hold more stock.
Yes.
So the flowers look more beautiful and bountiful. It also means that when we're displaying, everything looks more generous. We are a chocolate shop. We are temptation.
Yeah.
We want you to see things, let them be beautiful, and so we try to make them look as best as they can, and particularly in the cooler months, that's just 100 times easier. So we have beautiful things all of the time, but in the cooler months, yes, lots.
Given that the three stores have different audiences, what do you find is the most common, perhaps from an arrangement standpoint? What are people chasing down most often?
90% of the work that we do is a hand-tied bouquet. So it is a bouquet that's made in the hand, constructed and designed with all of the little points that we have to make our style the way it is. But it's a spiral bouquet, which is a German method of making a hand-tied bouquet. It's spiraled like a sheath of wheat. And it means that you get maximum volume for a very small binding point. So we can tie and hold a lot in our hand, but still create volume.
Yes.
And so we do like 90% of our work is that. Even if we put them into a container, it's still normally a hand-tied bouquet, which means that when a customer or recipient receives them at home, changing the water is much easier. They can just lift up the bouquet because it is contained as one piece, change the water, put it straight back in, as opposed to having it all single stem pieces, which once it's out of that vase, how does it go back the same? Yeah. I mean, we take a lot of time to create these in the way that they are. To get that beautiful round dome shape does take skill and time, and that's a particular technique. And so when it does go to someone's home, we sort of think ahead, and for the length of the flowers that they are alive, so a week's time, just the changing of the water, those sorts of things, we want to make that as easy as we can for our customers.
And it's locally sourced?
As much as we can.
Yes.
There is always going to be a need for imported product because as big as we are, we just do not have the population that grows enough flowers for the wants and needs of the Australian public. And so at particular times of year, we may want hydrangea and there's none locally. But of course, Holland has it on the other side of the world at the direct opposite time of year, and export, it can be done. We maybe have 10% of their product that's imported, and 90% is either Australian or locally sourced. We have rose growers in Carolyn, we have lily growers in Alstonville, we have local small sort of cottage growers in Wamuran, on like up north coast, south coast, and then sort of granite belt, and they either deliver direct to us in water. So it means at no point are they out of water, because often flowers go into boxes dry packed, spend hours out of water, so there's no stress, which is what we like.
Yes.
We do have one particular grower who delivers to us by car from Tenterfield in New South Wales, beautiful dahlia and cottage roses, lovely things. So yes, as much as we can, we buy locally.
We have Mother's Day coming up.
We do.
So do you have any planned bouquets, arrangements that are going to be specifically talking to that?
It is hard to do anything for Mother's Day that isn't pink. Mostly because that's what our customers want. It's a lot of the time mothers in general like different types of shades of pinks and whites and creams. we have a beautiful website and we have an entire range of pinks, whites, and creams that is hands down the thing that is bought, and like really it's the go-to area for Mother's Day. Of course, we do bright burgundies and hot pink. We do orange and cerise together. We do all pure white. We do it all, but the 90% of our work, I would say, is this beautiful pastel elegant pinks, whites, and creams, which is, it's hard to beat. It's hard to beat.
What's the best way for people to order? Should they get in quickly now to place their orders?
Ordering earlier is always best. It is like everything. Every human is the same. It doesn't matter. It's the same day every year. People always leave it to the last possible moment. I myself am the same. But honestly, the website is the easiest, mostly because you can see we have like maybe 100 products on the website. If you're looking for the pinks and cream section, there's probably 20 things, which is beautiful. Everything from single plants, single flowers, a single variety, mixed bouquets. And so we have everything from a very small price up to a very large price, depending on how much you love your mother. So yeah, we would normally suggest that. But if you would like to come in and choose them yourself, you can come into any one of the 3 stores and talk to one of our florists and be guided by that.
Yeah, the website is very comprehensive. It's a very wonderful website.
Thank you very much.
And is there anything you'd like to impart to people that may not have discovered the studio at this point? Can you?
Other than we'd love to see you. We love people being in the store, really not even buying. We have a lot of beautiful things that a lot of other florist shops don't have. We try to support the smaller growers that are still growing the very specific flowers that may be too hard.
Yes.
And are slowly going out of fashion. So in season, we always have lily of the valley. We always have violets. We always have sweet pea. We always have sturge desert pea. It's an Australian thing, but if we can get it, and it probably has to come from Adelaide, but we will have it because we love it. And it's a talking point.
Yes.
I used to work in a florist shop in Brisbane near an incredible fruit store. And what I learnt a lot from that fruit store is that as people who purchase a beautiful product, I love a backstory. So when you come into the store, we will tell you, oh yes, these sweet pea, they come from this beautiful grower in the Granite Belt. They bring them to us. Have you smelled them? Aren't they gorgeous? Because, we're florists, 1, but 2, we're just people who love flowers. And so when Lily of the Valley comes in sort of late September, sort of October, November, it's like this beautiful, tiny little precious thing that comes in for only a few weeks of the year, and everyone goes, amazing. So we like to have lots of those things.
Sounds like you spoil your customers.
We try.
Yeah, beautiful. Okay, Bart, thank you so much. It's absolutely wonderful.
A pleasure
To speak to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.